Then we got Rahab, the harlot. Rahab, the harlot, folks, here's the thing that people don't realize about Rahab. She wasn't even Jewish. She wasn't an Israelite. She wasn't a Hebrew. She was outside the bloodline. And in Jericho, when Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, she was allowing the spies to stay with her on the agreement that, okay, if you're going to take over my city, my country, my countrymen, my people, and kill them all, traitor, just save me and my family. And they said, agreed. So then she marries Solomon, who's a priest, and that's his wife, and she is in the lineage of Jesus Christ. Then we have Ruth and Boaz. Ruth says, Boaz, come on, do me. And he does her, and then get married. Okay. Out of wedlock, just have sex. Her idea in Jesus Christ's bloodline. Then we have Cleopatra. Cleopatra was an adulteress. Maybe you might have a choice of her own, either way. What did David do? David goes ahead and impregnates her, and then, her husband is one of my generals, shield holders, or takes care of the shields. He's an officer in his army. So then Joab, his general, he sends him a letter. He says, take this to your, because he has him come in and to have sex with Bathsheba, but he can't. He stays outside the door because he hasn't got the conscience to go in and have sex with his wife because his troops are dying. So he stays outside the door overnight. Blows David's idea of what he wants done. Because if he has sex with him, then he says, oh, it's your kid. So he says, okay, take this letter, don't open it, it's all sealed, take it to Joab. And Joab has him killed, according to the letter, has him killed. So David now not only has an adulterous affair, steals a man's wife, but then has the man killed. But God saw no wrong in David. He said that 4 or 5 different times. David is, is it. So all this contradiction is in there under that. And then you got God's biblical heroes. The whole thing on the biblical heroes. You got all of them that are major and all their sins, if you will. All the homework's been done for you. But now we got Mary. Mary is, 13 years old, many say, and she gets pregnant. Miracle pregnancy. So we have all kinds of things in Jesus' lineage that people didn't know about.
No, I was just going to parenthetically mention that the New Testament, which is the work of men, and therefore fallible, what is the Old Testament written? Is it also the work of men?
Sure.
And do we know who the authors of the various portions of it are?
Well, there's 66 books in the King James Old Testament. There's 73 counting the Apocrypha in the Catholic and other things. There's some like the thing according to Joseph and all this kind of stuff. And you have Jesus as a young kid in some of them, where he's up on a roof with a kid, another kid, and he knocks him off, and the kid falls down and dies. And when he comes down, everybody says, Jesus, why did you do that? And he says, oh, get off my back. Okay, get up. And he brings the kid back to life. I mean, these are kind of stories in the Apocrypha that didn't make the cut in the regular Bible. So you got about 72 or 73 of them altogether. Who wrote them? Probably about 120, and then they got their scribes. I mean, they had their scribes that wrote for them.
So it's pretty universal. All of this is like fairy tales written by guys.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Aren't most of the authors' names in the Bible, aren't those actually just sort of made up names that are just applied to those groups of writings?
Like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
There weren't necessarily actually any people, any one individual that was responsible for those things.
Well, Ezekiel, every one of them had their scribes. They had their scribes. They admit to it. Paul wrote like over half the New Testament, and he had scribes. In fact, Luke ran around with Paul a little bit, and they're both like, years and years after Jesus died. So hardly any of them. John is the only one that's questionable that maybe John met Jesus. He might have been John of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
What I'm saying is that later on, the people who assembled those writings put those names on various groups of writings.
Okay, what happened was on the Bible's compiling is under Constantine. In 324, 325 AD, Constantine took all the scribes and brought them together. He just won a war because he had the cross and so forth. He's one who made Rome go Christian. So he had this Council of Nicaea that started in 325. The last council that contributed to that was 394. So it just wasn't 325 built, that was it. Between that and 394 is when they compiled this. They voted the canon as to what would make the cut and what wouldn't. And they voted for Jesus to be God. Okay? Yeah.
Is Jesus a completely fictional character, or was there, or is the Bible somewhat based on the life, of some actual guy, or is it just a totally made-up character?
Okay. Can we go back up top? With Jesus Christ, a composite is in there somewhere. In the middle. Jesus Christ, a composite, there it is. It talks about probably about 60 gods before Jesus that were all virgin birth, died on the cross, rose from the dead, healed people, all the parallels, and they're all named, and the years and dates they took place. Here's something that just freaks me out. King Herod the Great was a historical character. He lived. Jesus Christ, outside the Bible, doesn't have any history. They said Josephus added a couple of lines, but they think it's been inscribed since, late edition type things. Here's a kicker. We are in the year 2008 AD, Anno Domini. BC is before Christ, right?